Let's take your advanced vocabulary to the moon like a rocket, because I am going to teach you some super useful advanced C2 level words and phrases. And if you are someone who enjoys building your vocabulary, please subscribe, turn on notifications. That way I can become your teacher. My name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English. It is all about helping you reach your fluency goals. So this vocabulary is at a C2 level, which is Cambridge's highest level of proficiency, which means that, well, these words and phrases will definitely help you be more descriptive and precise. So let's go ahead and get started with some C2 phrases. So I am going to teach you these advanced phrases. I'll tell you the meaning. I'll give you some context as to how they're used. And I'm going to teach you the pronunciation, because if you're going to use these phrases, you want to make sure that you are saying them correctly. So let's face it, building your vocabulary is extremely important. And let's face it, is the first phrase that I would like to teach you. So this phrase is used to say that something is true and cannot be denied. Or it is said before something that is true but unpleasant. And just keep in mind that you're really going to use this phrase at the beginning of a statement. So to give you some context, let's look at a few memes. Let's face it, you laugh at anything I say. This is true and undeniable. Or let's face it, you're the reason I drink. In this case, it's true and unpleasant. Or let's face it, memes are a childish way to communicate and debate ideas. This is also true, but they do make for some great examples. Now, when it comes to pronouncing this phrase, and you want to make sure you're saying these words together instead of pronouncing the words individually, one thing to keep in mind is that linking may occur. And this often happens when the final sound of one word is a consonant sound, and the beginning sound of the next word is a vowel sound. So let's face it, the final consonant sound in face may get linked with the vowel sound in it, and it's going to sound like face it. It's almost like we're carrying that consonant sound over to the next syllable. Face it. Let's face it. Let's face it. If you would like to continue building your vocabulary, well then you need to subscribe, turn on notifications. That way I can become your teacher. And the next C2 phrase that I want to teach you is few and far between. It means not happening or existing very often. And you would say that something is few and far between. So it's often going to follow the verb to be, and typically it's going to come at the end of a statement. In this town, good workers are few and far between. This winter, snowy days have been few and far between. And that's true. It's been a rather mild winter. Or I could say miracles are few and far between. In each of these sentences, the phrase follows the verb to be and comes at the end of the statement. As for pronunciation, the very first thing that I want to point out is that the word and may get reduced to n. And this is common in spoken English. And keep in mind, it's also an unstressed sound, n. Now, it begins with a vowel sound, and the word before ends in a consonant sound. So once again, linking may occur. Few and far between. And reductions, they're quite common, and in this case, it allows us to just say the phrase quickly. Few and far between. Few and far between. Just listen for it.
All I'm saying is that the really good guys are few and far between.
The wealthy families in the countryside are few and far between.
Friends, close friends, few and far between.
The next one that I have for you is fall into place. And this is when things are happening in a satisfactory way without any problems. So it really does have a positive connotation. And often you're referring to several things that are going on, and you could say everything is falling into place. So let's say that we're working on a project, and toward the end, everyone is completing their work on time, the numbers are adding up, people are working well together, and we're going to finish well before the deadline. So in that case, I could say, as we got toward the end of the project, everything was falling into place. When you pronounce this phrase, keep in mind linking will often occur. We can link that consonant sound in fall with the beginning vowel sound in into. Fall into, fall into, fall into place. Say it with me. Fall into place. Good. Our next phrase, for the best. This refers to an action that is done in order to improve a situation or produce a good result, although at the time it's going to seem unpleasant. And I think a great example would be ending a relationship and breaking up. So let's say that you are planning to break up with me and our relationship's coming to an end. I hope this is just an example. And of course, I'm very sad. I would say, please don't break up with me. People like you are few and far between. And then you would tell me, let's face it, it's for the best. Okay, we need to break up. It's going to improve our situation in the future. It's for the best.
Ted's stepdad and I have separated.
Oh my God.
It's for the best.
Well, thank you, but we think it'd be better if we left.
Not because of last night.
For the best.
I think that pronouncing this phrase, it's not too difficult, for the best. The only thing that I would tell you to keep in mind is that the article the, it is the weak the, and you're using the schwa sound, that sound, because it comes before a word that begins with a consonant sound. For the best. For the best. The next phrase is conflict of interest. And you may be thinking, wait a second, I have heard this phrase, and that is because it describes a situation that is quite common. So this phrase is very useful. And we're talking about describing a situation in which someone cannot make a fair decision because they will be affected by the result. So let's just say that I am going to judge a contest for children, and my daughter is one of the participants. Do you think that I am a fair judge, or would you say that I have a conflict of interest? Because this is my daughter, I would love to see her win, so perhaps I'm not capable of making a fair decision in this case. And you would say, look, Wes, you clearly have a conflict of interest. And I'm sure that you can think of someone that you know who has had a conflict of interest because, like I said, this is a very common and useful phrase. For pronunciation, there is some more linking going on. We can actually link all three of these words together. We can link that final consonant sound in conflict with the beginning vowel sound in of, conflict of, and then we can link that consonant sound with the beginning vowel sound in interest. Conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. And one thing I want to point out with that preposition of, whenever you see this word linking often occurs, such as in this phrase, conflict of interest. Then we have the phrase, something dawns on someone. And this means to understand or realize something for the first time. I was about to pay for the groceries when it suddenly dawned on me that I forgot my wallet. And I just realize it. All of a sudden, it dawns on me. And there are some great collocations with this phrase. You could say something suddenly dawns on someone, or something finally dawns on someone. And when you're pronouncing this phrase, there's more linking. You can link the final consonant sound in dawns with the vowel sound in on. Dawns on. However, I think people may often use this phrase in the past tense, in which they're going to say dawned on. And that can be a little trickier because of the repetition when we're linking. Something dawned on me, or dawned on him, or dawned on her. And you hear that repetition, dawned on. Our next phrase is to crack down on something or crack down on someone. And it just means to take strong action to stop something. And in order to show you this phrase being used in context, I have some news headlines that I'd like to share with you. Washington bill aims to crack down on street racing. 3 things we know about Netflix's efforts to crack down on password sharing, something that I'm not too happy about. The Supreme Court might not crack down on big tech after all. And when you pronounce this phrase, more linking may occur. We can link the final consonant sound in down with the vowel sound in on, crack down on. And I think this is a little easier to say than the other one, something dawned on someone. But linking, it's very common. It allows us to connect these words and say these phrases easily and smoothly. Crack down on. In the blink of an eye. This is our next phrase, and it means extremely quickly. And it really makes sense because when you blink, Well, that's pretty fast. Now, you're likely going to use this phrase at either the beginning of a statement, in the blink of an eye, something happened. Or you'll use it at the end of a statement. Something happened in the blink of an eye. This phrase may often get used when referring to time, or maybe someone is just suddenly gone. And instead of saying something happened very quickly, I would just switch it out. Something happened in the blink of an eye. Now, I have been married for, let me do the math, 6 years now, and I could say that, well, this time has passed quickly. 6 years have gone by in the blink of an eye. For pronunciation, we're going to use that weak the with the schwa sound, and then link those final 4 words. The blink of an eye. And once again, it's like we're just carrying that final consonant sound over to the next syllable. Blink of an eye. The blink of an eye. And the next phrase, I really like this one, butt in. It just means to interrupt. And really, you would be interrupting a conversation, a discussion, or just getting involved in someone else's business. And you might hear someone use this phrase if they're telling another person to stop doing this. Don't butt in.
Just make sure my idiot interns don't screw up. Give the IB Hepburn. Don't butt in.
Or perhaps someone needs to interrupt and they would say something like, I'm sorry to butt in, but, or I don't mean to butt in, but.
Harry, I don't mean to butt in, but maybe you and Derek could co-host the party. What?
Something I want to say about the pronunciation of this phrase, and this is more related to the American accent because I am from the US, and that is that T sound in but, that double consonant T. Because it comes between 2 vowel sounds, I am going to say this as a flap T, and it's going to sound more like a soft D, butt in. And then we can link that flap T with the vowel sound in. Butt in. Hey, don't butt in. Then there's the phrase, by all means. This is used to give permission, like you're just saying, yes, certainly. And often you may use this as a standalone statement. You're responding to someone's question. Could I borrow this book? By all means. Can I make a suggestion? By all means. Perhaps you are asking me, would you like me to hit the like button? And I would say, well, yeah, by all means, please go ahead. Hit that like button, by all means. When it comes to the pronunciation of this phrase and someone is speaking quickly, they may use intrusion to link the 2 vowel sounds in the words by and all. By all. And intrusion is when you're adding either a slight W sound or a slight Y sound, and that then allows us to link 2 vowels. And we're going to use a slight Y sound, which comes after front vowel sounds like I. So by all means. And you hear that slight Y sound, by all means. Then we have the phrase behind closed doors. This refers to a situation that is hidden or kept secret from the public without an audience or crowd watching. And again, this is a situation that is common, so I think this is a very useful phrase. People may often use this phrase when referring to government or business decisions that are kept secret. We didn't want the public to know, so the decision was made behind closed doors. And yeah, secrecy, it's not a good thing. When pronouncing this phrase, elision may occur. And elision is when certain sounds get removed. And I'm talking about the t or d sounds when they come between 2 consonants. So think about the word handsome. That D, it comes between 2 consonants, it elides, we don't hear it. With our phrase, both of the D sounds in behind and closed, they're going to elide. They come between 2 consonant sounds, and it's like they get muted. And you just don't really hear it. Behind closed doors. Behind closed doors. Once again, just listen for it.
I heard about a third fight between you and Apollo. Behind closed doors.
How did he know to choose them? Everything happened behind closed doors.
What's going on? There's been people whispering behind closed doors.
So we just talked about secrecy with the phrase behind closed doors. Now let's go in the other direction and talk about the phrase come to light. This refers to facts that become known publicly. And once again, there are useful collocations with this phrase. We could say that new evidence comes to light, or new facts may come to light, Or new details may come to light. I could say recently, new details came to light showing how the decision was made behind closed doors. And it's like this secret information became known publicly. When you pronounce this phrase, it's pretty straightforward. The only thing that I would like to point out is the word to. When you're stressing it, it's pronounced, just like I said, to, but there is another accepted form of pronunciation, and that is when it's unstressed, and it's going to sound more like t. And if somebody is saying this phrase quickly, they may not stress that word, and it's going to sound like come to light. Come to light. Some new evidence comes to light. Now for a little review. I know that this lesson has gone by in the blink of an eye, but by all means, please watch another video lesson because, let's face it, great vocabulary lessons like this one are few and far between. And I am a firm believer that if you keep practicing and you keep learning a little bit each and every day, when it comes to improving your English, everything's just going to fall right into place. So I think I need to wrap things up and say goodbye. It's for the best. I hope that you enjoyed that last bit of review. It's always good to hear how the vocabulary is used in context. I'm going to keep trying to do that as we go through the lesson. But right now, I want to switch gears and I want to teach you some incredibly useful C2 verbs. And I say incredibly useful because verbs are so important. They are like the heart of every statement, thought, and opinion. They provide us with invaluable information. So without further ado, here are some essential C2 verbs. Let's learn some advanced C2 verbs. And I'm going to get right to the point, and we'll begin with our first verb, which is to linger. So this verb actually has two different meanings. The first one is to continue to exist. So if I were sick and I have a cold, I could say that it is still lingering. And in this case, you may often hear it being used in the continuous tense with that adverb still. That's a good adverb-verb collocation. Something is still lingering. How's your cold? Unfortunately, it's still lingering. It also means to take longer than usual to leave. And in this case, you may be talking about a person or group of people. Some customers lingered for a while after the shop closed, and they just took longer than usual to leave. When you pronounce this verb, it has two syllables. The stress is on that first syllable, linger. But I want to focus on that ng because it can be a little confusing. Look at these two words. They are not rhyming words. Singer, you only have that ing sound, whereas linger, you have the ing plus that g sound afterwards, linger. It's similar to the word finger. These are rhyming words, linger, finger.
Many of you wish to seek counseling due to lingering trauma. Speak with me privately.
Yeah, well, it turns out that there's some lingering feelings or something.
Clark, get out of here.
My mistake.
Yes, it is your mistake. Lingering, so annoying.
And if you are someone who enjoys building your vocabulary, then I hope that you linger for a while and watch more video lessons. Dole out. This means to give something, usually money, to several people. And this C2 verb, it is a phrasal verb that may be separable. So you could dole out something or dole something out. And in order to show you how this verb may be used in context, I have some news headlines for you. As lawmakers dole out record surplus, many say they need more. Colts dole out $22.5 million for kicker Matt Gay. This is talking about American football, and yeah, that's a lot of money to dole out for a kicker. Should political parties be able to dole out freebies? When pronouncing this phrasal verb, you should know that linking is going to occur, and we can link the final consonant sound in dole with the beginning vowel sound in out. And this is when linking commonly occurs, linking a final consonant sound with a beginning vowel sound, and it just helps us make a smooth transition from one word to the next. Dole out. It's like we're taking that consonant sound and just moving it over to the next syllable. Dole out. Then we have the verb pinpoint, It also has two meanings. The first one is to find or say the exact position in space or time of something. I may ask you the question, can you pinpoint our location on the map? Because I just want to know where we are. It also means to discover or describe the exact facts of something. I could tell you doctors could not pinpoint the cause of his illness. So in this case, they just could not describe the facts of his illness. For pronunciation, the verb has two syllables. The stress is on that first syllable, pinpoint. And I'd also like to point out that final T, it's really a stop T. It's pretty subtle, pinpoint. And the next one that I have for you is plague. This means to cause worry, pain, or difficulty to someone or something over a period of time. And often you may follow this verb with the preposition by. You have been plagued by something. I could tell you that, well, my athletic career has been plagued by back injuries. And to be honest, I've never really had much of an athletic career. That's not really true, but yes, over the years, I have been plagued by back injuries. That part is unfortunately true. When it comes to pronunciation, the spelling and pronunciation don't really look like they match, but that final G-U-E, it's going to be pronounced with an aspirated G sound, plague. But often people may use this verb as, well, the past participle, in which case it's going to end with the final D sound. And those consonants, that can be a difficult combination, that plagued, plagued. You've been plagued by something.
I'm plagued by an internal struggle.
If you would just use the bucket, you'd be so much more comfortable.
Sunrise Bay was a coastal community plagued by a centuries-old curse.
Next is the verb prescribe. And this is a very useful verb because it's when a doctor says what kind of treatment someone should have. And it's very specific because we're really talking about someone's health. And there are some common collocations with this verb because a doctor may prescribe some medicine, or prescribe some pills, or prescribe some rest, or even prescribe some painkillers. Now this verb has two syllables, and the stress is on that second syllable, prescribe. And that first syllable, even though it's spelled P-R-E, it has a pr sound because it's unstressed. Prescribe. Say it with me. Prescribe. Excellent. Then we have the verb utter. This means to say something or just make a sound with your voice. So sometimes it can be interchangeable with say, except that it's a bit more formal and not as commonly used. Maybe I tell you, he sat through the meeting without uttering a word. And that's a good collocation with this verb, without uttering a word. Now to talk about the difference between utter and say is that, well, utter is not always clear. She uttered something through the car window, but I didn't understand what she was saying. It wasn't clear, but I could tell she was making some sounds with her voice and uttered something. For pronunciation, the verb has two syllables. The stress is on that first syllable, utter. But what I'd really like to point out is that T, I am going to pronounce it as a flat T. It's going to sound like a soft D. And this is pretty common with the American accent when the T comes between two vowel sounds. There are many words we can say with the flat T, like water, better, utter. Just listen for it.
It was him. He uttered something.
Oh, I'm sorry I uttered.
You think you're funny, don't you, bro?
It is the truth, uttered with his own lips.
What she said?
Hasn't uttered another syllable.
Then we have the verb curb. And to curb something means to control or limit something that is not wanted. And you would try to curb something. And in order to show you how this verb is used in context, once again, I have some news headlines for you. This phone helped me curb my screen addiction. Syria agrees to curb drug trade in meeting with Arab ministers. Brazil orders Google to curb campaign against fake news law. And when you pronounce this verb, it's pretty simple and straightforward. There's just one syllable, curb. But that U has more of an vowel sound, curb, to curb something. Then there's lure. This means to persuade someone to do something or go somewhere by offering them something exciting. And often you may follow this verb with the preposition into or to. The employees were lured into working over the weekend with the promise of overtime. Or universities try to lure the top academics to their school.
They always set those things to pay out more so they can lure people into the casino.
Tyler and I feel due to Marie's attempt to lure him to your house.
I wasn't trying to lure him.
Well, very clever, Simpson. Luring our bees to your sugar and selling them back to us at an inflated price.
You're on to what now?
Simpson, you diabolical.
When you pronounce this verb, just make sure that you are saying that diphthong, because that you, it's going to sound like a combination of vowel sounds. Lure. Say it with me. Lure. Lure. Good. Then there's indulge, and I really like this verb. It means to allow yourself or some other person to have something enjoyable, especially more than what's good for you. So you may follow this verb with the preposition in, and you indulge in something. Late at night, sometimes I get a little hungry, and I probably shouldn't eat anything, but I like to indulge in sweets, and I'll have some cookies or chocolate. And often you may use this verb when talking about food, and you indulge in something and you have more than what's really good for you. For pronunciation, there are 2 syllables. The stress is on that second syllable, and that G has more of a J sound. Indulge. Indulge. What do you like to indulge in? Let me know in the comments. Then there's delegate. This means to give a job, duty, or right to someone so they can do it for you. And this verb is often used in the context of work because you can't do everything, so you may delegate certain responsibilities to other people. And you may also say that a boss or supervisor is good at delegating and they tell others what they need to do, or perhaps someone is bad at delegating because they try to do everything themselves, and yeah, that may not be a good situation. So this is a very useful verb when talking about work. This verb has 3 syllables. The stress is on that first syllable, delegate. Now, don't confuse this with the noun, because that 3rd syllable is pronounced differently when you say the noun delegate. With the verb, you're going to use that long A sound, delegate. Now, I'd also like to point out that when you use this verb in the continuous tense, it's going to change from a stop T to a flap T, at least with the American accent. And you'd say that someone is delegating something. And you're going to use that flap T. Once again, just listen for it.
I'm delegating.
He's delegating.
Don't shy away from delegating.
Reconcile. Great verb. This means to find a way in which 2 situations or beliefs that are opposed to each other can agree or exist together. And you could hear somebody say something like, we need to reconcile our differences. That's a great collocation with this verb.
The boys appear to have reconciled their differences.
Rose and her daughter have reconciled their differences.
That's why it's important for you to reconcile your differences.
You could also reconcile something with something. I could say, research is being done to reconcile the world's population growth with sustainability. So these 2 things, they seem opposed, but we need to reconcile them and find a way for them to exist together. Growth and sustainability. For pronunciation, the verb has 3 syllables. The stress is on that first syllable, and keep in mind that the C has more of an S sound. Reconcile. Reconcile. And then there's loathe, which is a pretty powerful verb because it means to hate someone or something. So loathe, just like hate, it's a strong word, so be careful how you're using it. But of course there are probably things that I'm sure you loathe. I know there are things that I loathe, like I loathe sitting at an airport when my flight has been delayed. Or I loathe anchovies. I just don't like eating them. Or I loathe driving in really bad weather conditions. For pronunciation, it's just the one syllable, but make sure you're using that voiced TH at the end. Loathe. Let's say it together. Loathe. Loathe. Nice. Now for a little review. I'm sure that you do not loathe building your vocabulary, and I hope that I can lure you into watching another video lesson, because even though I'm not a doctor, that is what I would prescribe in order for you to develop your English fluency. And to be honest, I know it's not good to watch a lot of videos and be in front of a screen, but in this case, of course, I think it's okay for you to indulge a little bit and watch many different video lessons. I have a lot on this channel, especially vocabulary lessons, in which you will find me doling out words left and right. But in all seriousness, I just want you to keep practicing, keep improving. You're doing great. Let's continue supercharging your vocabulary with some informal phrases. And by that, I'm talking about some C2 idioms. Now, idioms, I think, are commonly used in just casual conversation, so this is really going to help your listening comprehension. However, I think it's important to be able to use them and feel comfortable using them when you're having a conversation. And it's like learning any other vocabulary. You learn the meaning, kind of get an idea as to how it's used, and then you can go out and practice. So here are some C2 idioms. Let's move on to those C2 idioms, which may not be as common, but they're great to learn because they're really going to help you express your thoughts, opinions, and feelings. Like this next idiom, which is at the end of your rope. It means having no strength or patience left. And it's a great way to emphasize that. And of course, you can replace that possessive pronoun with others, my rope, his rope, her rope. But I could say, I'm at the end of my rope. Why on earth have you not already hit the like button? Okay, it's just the only example that I can think of, but I promise I'm not going to mention it again. For pronunciation, just keep in mind that the article the, we're actually going to use the stronger form the because it comes before a word that begins with a vowel sound. Typically, the article comes before words that begin with a consonant, and we say that weaker the. But I'm sure you already knew that because you're on the ball. We can also link the final consonant sound in end with the beginning vowel sound in of. End of. At the end of your rope. At the end of your rope.
I hate to do this, but I'm kind of at the end of my rope. I need to borrow some money.
I was at the end of my rope. The financial pressure was crazy.
You're not giving me a lot of direction here. I'm at the end of my rope.
To the bitter end. This is a great idiom. It means until something is finished. And it's not always interchangeable with that meaning. If I'm eating something, I could say, yeah, I'm going to eat my food until it is finished. I wouldn't say, I'm going to eat my food until the bitter end. That just sounds really awkward. So you're really going to use this idiom when talking about an outcome that may not always be the one that you want, but you're going to keep going. We may not meet the deadline, but we're going to work to the bitter end. You're just going to keep fighting. And fight is a verb that's often used with this idiom. It's a common collocation, to fight to the bitter end. Let me show you. Southampton boss vows to fight to the bitter end. Youngsville police chief will fight until the bitter end in proposed investigation. Nurses warn of more strike dates in January as they fight to the bitter end. For pronunciation, there are a couple of weak words that I'd like to point out. So the weak to is going to sound like t, and the weak article, the. And then we can link the final consonant sound in bitter with the beginning vowel sound in end. Bitter end. So it's going to sound like to the bitter end. Say it with me. To the bitter end. To fight to the bitter end. Excellent. The next idiom is to get off on the right or wrong foot. And this just means to make a successful or unsuccessful start in something. Now, it's more common to use it in the negative and say that something got off on the wrong foot. The team did not get along, so the project got off on the wrong foot. It's also commonly used when talking about relationships. Two people meet each other. doesn't go well, it's unsuccessful, it got off on the wrong foot.
Why are you being so nice to me all of a sudden?
I'm sorry we got off on the wrong foot.
We got off on the wrong foot here. And I believe it's because we're just too damn similar.
You do?
Absolutely.
Let's pronounce this idiom, and once again, linking may occur. You can see just how common this is in spoken English. So we can link the phrase, get off on. Just keep in mind that the final T in get, once again, I'm from the US, so I will pronounce it as a flap T. Get off on. Get off on. Get off on the right foot, get off on the wrong foot. And then there's over the top. This means too extreme and not suitable, or exaggerated. So something that's too extreme. She was supposed to buy me a small present, but her gift was way over the top. And that is a great word to emphasize this idiom, way over the top. For something that may be exaggerated, I could say it was supposed to be a friendly competition, but his performance was a bit over the top. And that's another good word you can use with this idiom, a bit over the top. For pronunciation, there's not really much to say about this idiom. You're just going to say these three words, one right after the other, over the top.
It was our fault. Our acting was way over the top.
What are you talking about? We were totally believable.
This is like secret agent stuff. I think a safe room is a bit over the top. Ed thought with the two little ones, you can never be too cautious.
What do you think of my new theater? Bit over the top.
The next idiom, at the crack of dawn. This just means very early in the morning, usually the time when the sun first appears. So it's a great way to emphasize that you're up really early. I could say this morning, I got up at the crack of dawn. Or we'll have to get up at the crack of dawn for our flight. I hate it when that happens. Or my grandfather has been up since the crack of dawn. I tried to present this idiom with some different verb tenses. When pronouncing it, there are a couple of things going on. There are some overlapping sounds, and this is basically when your tongue is in the same position. So at, your tongue is going to come up and block the air with that stop T, but then you're just going to release right into that voiced TH in the, at the, at the. And then we can link the final consonant sound in crack with the vowel sound in of, crack of, at the crack of dawn. Have you ever gotten up at the crack of dawn? Let me know down in the comments. And then there's change of heart. This is when you change your opinion or the way you feel about something, basically like a reversal in your attitude. And there are three things that I want to point out when it comes to this idiom. Number one, overwhelmingly, you will use this with the verb have, to have a change of heart. Number two, I want to stress that this idiom really involves feelings. So you're not always going to use it anytime you just change your mind. So if I told you, look, this morning I was going to make pancakes, but then I had a change of heart and I decided to cook some eggs instead. You're not really going to use this idiom in that context. I don't have deep feelings when it comes to eggs or pancakes. But if I were to say something like, she was going to sell her grandmother's necklace, but she had a sudden change of heart. In this case, she has stronger feelings when it comes to this necklace. It's more meaningful, and that's also a good collocation with this idiom, a sudden change of heart. Number three, notice that because you're talking about a change in your opinion or the way you feel, most of the time people are going to use this in the past tense. So you would say that someone had a change of heart, or they had a sudden change of heart. For pronunciation, once again, more linking. We can link that first phrase, had a, as well as that second phrase, change of. Had a change of heart. And you could say it easily and naturally just like that. Someone had a change of heart. I know that I am giving you a ton of information, and I do not expect you to memorize all of these words and phrases. I think one of the primary goals of a long, detailed lesson like this is just to get exposure. You hear this vocabulary, you see the meaning, you get a variety of examples. You're learning them passively, and then hopefully you can then go out and use them actively. This is really the initial building blocks of developing your skills and really going to help you reach your fluency goals. So let's continue with some more descriptive words, and I want to teach you some important C2 nouns. Let's learn some advanced C2 nouns to help you supercharge your vocabulary and be a little more precise when you're having a conversation. Now, building your vocabulary, it's not always easy. It requires a lot of time and perseverance. And I want to start with that noun that I just mentioned, perseverance. This refers to a continued effort to do or achieve something even when it is difficult or takes a long time. And this has a positive connotation. It's a good thing. Often you may use this when talking about things that are hard to do. As you know, learning a language takes a lot of time and energy, and you need perseverance.
I said creative writing is hard.
Oh, yeah. Perseverance, Steve. It's all about perseverance.
For pronunciation, this word has 4 syllables, and the stress is on that 3rd syllable, perseverance. And the 2nd and 4th syllable have that unstressed schwa sound, sounds like perseverance. And it's good to practice these words because sometimes people tend to avoid these longer words because they're a bit more difficult to pronounce. Perseverance. And if you are someone who likes to learn new words and phrases, please subscribe to the channel. It shows perseverance, and that way I can become your teacher. My name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English. It's all about trying to help you reach your fluency goals. And as we go through the lesson, I'm going to tell you the meaning of each word. I'll talk a little bit about how it's used in context, and I'll go over the pronunciation so you can say them just like a native speaker. And the next noun that I have for you is one that I really like, and that is workaholic. This noun refers to a person who works a lot and actually finds it difficult not to work. And you may be able to relate to this noun. I don't really think that I'm a workaholic, even though sometimes I feel like I work a little too much and I'm constantly thinking about new lessons. But what I really wanted to point out with this word is that suffix, the HOLIC at the end of the word, because this suffix means that you are addicted to something. I'm sure that you may be familiar with the word alcoholic. In this case, a workaholic, it's like you're saying that someone is addicted to work. And this is a fun way to play around with the language because maybe you like to go shopping. Are you a shopaholic? Do you read a lot? Maybe you're a bookaholic. I drink a lot of milk, so someone might say I'm a milkaholic. But let's not forget the reason why we're talking about this suffix is for all of you who love to work, you may be a workaholic.
This is your wedding weekend. Ooh, I'm marrying a real workaholic. You do know that.
Yeah, but isn't that what you want in a partner?
Homie, workaholic is probably your best aholic ever, but you need to relax.
The pronunciation, it's not too difficult. There are 4 syllables and the stress is on that 3rd syllable, workaholic. But let me let you in on a little secret. It's a syllable stress rule because when a word ends in IC, the stress is often going to be on the 2nd to last syllable. It's a good little rule to keep in mind so that you can easily pronounce words like workaholic. And the next word that I have for you is hierarchy. This is a system or organization in which people or things are arranged according to importance. And this is a word that we can actually visualize using a chart. So think about a company. It has a hierarchy. Who's at the top, the most important position? Well, that would be the CEO. And then according to this chart, below the CEO, we have the marketing manager and the IT manager. And then there are people below them. So this is a chart detailing the company's hierarchy. To give you a better idea as to how this word is used in context, let's look at some news headlines. Is organizational hierarchy getting in the way of innovation? Support for legacy admissions is rooted in racial hierarchy. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, examples and explanation. And his hierarchy of needs describes different levels of the human experience. It's very interesting stuff, but you know what else is interesting? That's the pronunciation of this noun, because it's another long word, hierarchy. There are 4 syllables. The stress is on that first syllable, and the second syllable, you do hear that schwa sound, hierarchy. It's a little easier when we slow it down. Hierarchy. And then we can speed it up. Say it with me. Hierarchy. Excellent. The next word, bias. This is when you support or oppose someone or something in an unfair way because you are influenced by your personal opinions. And there are some useful collocations with this noun. You could have a bias towards or against someone or something, and then there are some adjective noun collocations like having a strong bias or an unconscious bias, stereotypes that you're unaware of. Or you may hear somebody talk about confirmation bias, when you seek out information to support the views you already have.
I'm getting a little tired of this bias against the leaders of our industry.
I thought I had an awareness to issues, ways of living, unconscious bias, like all of it.
And your country owes you a debt of gratitude, Dr. Ryan, but even you can agree that a confirmation bias is a dangerous thing.
When pronouncing this word, it's pretty simple and straightforward. There are 2 syllables. The stress is on that first syllable, bias. Then we have the word scrutiny. This is the careful and detailed examination of something in order to get more information about it. And there's a useful phrase, which is to come under scrutiny. And then you can use this phrase with some common adjective noun collocations and say that something comes under close scrutiny, or it comes under intense scrutiny, or additional scrutiny, or constant scrutiny. There are quite a few collocations with this noun, and they're all great to know. For pronunciation, the stress is on the first syllable, scrutiny. But I want to take a moment to talk to you about the glottal T versus a true T, because if you listen to some online dictionaries, you may hear this.
Scrutiny.
And you hear the true T. But I'm from the US, and with the American accent, when the T is followed by an N sound, people may pronounce it with a glottal T, and the sound comes from the throat. Your vocal cords are closing, and that's stopping the flow of air. So when you hear me say words like mountain, certain, scrutiny, you hear that glottal T, scrutiny. Just listen for it.
Now, Dutton's office is under intense scrutiny for its use of force in multiple gun battles.
If your customers come under scrutiny, Apollonia, your business comes under scrutiny.
The next word is concession. This is when something is allowed or given up in order to end a disagreement. So if we disagree on something and we need to come to a compromise, you may make a concession, and I may also have to make a concession. And that is a common collocation with this noun, to make a concession.
I understand that you like things a certain way, and I'm willing to make some concessions, but you have to be open to compromise.
She's right, that's reasonable.
But surely those rules changed the moment they invited television into the coronation.
That was their right, and a huge concession.
To what?
Popular interest.
I am aware that I will have to make some concessions.
Concessions?
Yes, concessions.
When pronouncing this noun, there are 3 syllables, and the stress is on that second syllable, concession. And another syllable stress rule for you is that when a word ends in S-I-O-N, the stress is going to come on the syllable before it. So that second to last syllable, concession. Another good rule to keep in mind. Next is the noun remorse. This is a feeling of sadness and being sorry for something you have done. And there are some useful phrases with this noun. To feel remorse for something, or to feel no remorse for something, or to be filled with remorse. So let me show you some examples, some funny memes when someone might feel remorse. So you might feel remorse when those were the droids you were looking for. You might feel remorse when you feel guilty for not studying and you are still not studying. You might feel remorse when you buy a new phone just before they announce an upgraded model. When pronouncing this noun, there are 2 syllables and the stress is on that second syllable, remorse. Keep in mind that the first syllable is not stressed. Sometimes I hear people stress the first syllable and I hear that long E sound, like re, instead of a r, remorse. I'm sure you will feel no remorse when you learn how to pronounce all these nouns perfectly. The next word is snob. I like this word even though it has a bit of a negative connotation, and it also has a couple of different meanings. So the first one refers to a person who likes or respects only other people of a high social class. Now, it's a little antiquated, but you may still hear it from time to time. And if someone's a snob, it's like they just feel they're better than other people.
Your family would never forgive you.
Maybe not. They're snobs.
They're such snobs.
Your understanding of politics is limited to who won the election on Sesame Street. Can you believe the snob?
It also refers to a person who has extremely high standards and is not satisfied with things that ordinary people like. And you may hear this noun being used with an adjective when talking about food or drink, but not always. And it does still have a negative connotation, even though you could use it playfully if you say that someone is a coffee snob, or a wine snob, or a pizza snob, or even an art snob. For this person, it must be the finest quality, and then you could say that they are a snob.
Lattes. Yeah, I'm a bit of a coffee snob. Now, the key to a perfect latte is in the temperature of the steamed milk.
I'm going to unveil the Duchess and watch every art world snob in town drool all over her.
For pronunciation, it's pretty simple and straightforward, just the one syllable, snob. Try not to be a snob unless you are an English lesson snob and you only want the highest quality lessons, then yeah, you're in the right place. Then we have the word exile. This refers to someone who has to leave their home country and go live in another country, often for political reasons. And there are some useful phrases with this noun. You could say someone goes into exile or someone is in exile. After the overthrow of the government, the former president went into exile. Or currently, the deposed leaders are living in exile in the neighboring country. To go into exile or to be in exile.
Into exile. I must go. Failed, I have.
Do you know the meaning of that word? A refugee. Driven from my home, in exile.
One who could reclaim the throne of Gondor.
He turned from that path a long time ago. He has chosen exile.
This noun has two syllables, and the stress is on that first syllable, exile. I will never make you leave this channel and go into exile. In fact, I want the opposite. I want you to stay. I want to keep you here. Then we have the word narrative. This is a word that I think is becoming more commonly used. It refers to a story or a particular way of explaining or understanding events. But let's talk about how this word is used, because even though it's basically a synonym for the word story, it's not really used interchangeably. I could say my friend likes to read love stories. I'm not really going to say my friend likes to read love narratives. These days, this word is used when talking about the story or the events that they would like others to believe, and that is their narrative. Let me give you the interactive English narrative. So I think that this is the best channel to build your vocabulary and reach your fluency goals. I say that in practically every lesson. That is the narrative that I would like you to believe. Let me show you some more news headlines so you can see how this word is used in context. New January 6 videos praised by Republicans. Narrative has crumbled. Notre Dame offense still has time to change the narrative. And stocks holding majority of recent gains fuels bullish narrative. For pronunciation, there are 3 syllables and the stress is on that first syllable, narrative. Now, when you hear me say the word, I am going to pronounce that final T as a flap T. It's going to sound like a soft D. This is common with the American accent when the T comes between 2 vowel sounds. Narrative. You hear that soft D. Narrative. Then we have the word xenophobia. This refers to an extreme dislike or fear of foreigners, their customs, their traditions, their religion. And it's a word that may often be used as an adjective as well, xenophobic. But with this word, I want to highlight another suffix, this time phobia. It comes from the Greek word phobos, meaning fear. So whenever you see or hear phobia at the end of a word, you know it's referring to the fear of something. Arachnophobia is the fear of spiders. Claustrophobia is the fear of being confined in a small space. Glossophobia is the fear of public speaking. And this is one that I didn't know before this lesson, so I'm learning new words each and every day. So there are many different words describing different fears using phobia, but the noun that I want you to remember is xenophobia. And when pronouncing this noun, it can be a little challenging. It's a longer word, and the spelling and the pronunciation don't really match up. The word has 5 syllables, and the stress is on the 3rd syllable, xenophobia. Now, there are 2 accepted pronunciations for this noun. You could say xenophobia, like I've been saying, or xenophobia. Either one is okay. Both are accepted. The only difference is that short E or long E in the first syllable. Xenophobia versus xenophobia. The other thing I want you to keep in mind is, of course, that X at the beginning of the noun, it has a Z sound, xenophobia. Then we have the word influx. This means the arrival of a lot of people or things at the same time. And often you're going to follow this noun with the preposition of, an influx of something. The town experienced an influx of tourists this summer. Or the business needs an influx of money or it may not survive. When pronouncing this word, there are 2 syllables. The stress is on that first syllable. But one thing I want to say is that this noun will generally follow an article, either the or an. And if we have the phrase, an influx of, then linking may occur. And linking is when we connect the final consonant sound of one word with the beginning vowel sound of the next word. So it's going to sound like an influx of. An influx of. Just listen for it.
Wendy has identified a casino and hotel in Northwest Missouri that needs an influx of cash to survive.
One day, Carl, an influx of hormones that we can't control will overpower our better judgment and drive us to pursue the female species against our will.
And now for a little review. I think it is great that you want to build your vocabulary, but I want to remind you that you will need perseverance. Because to be honest, it can be difficult to find the time. You may have to make some concessions in order to reach your fluency goals. And I know some people may be thinking, look, do I really need to become a vocabulary snob and learn all these advanced words? Is my English really going to come under intense scrutiny? Probably not. It's entirely up to you. But personally, and I know that I have a bias, I think it's worth it to have a robust vocabulary. I think it's going to help you both personally and professionally. At least that's the narrative that I am trying to tell. So I should really wrap things up and get going, but don't worry, I'm not going to go into exile. I will be back soon with another lesson. What can I say? I'm a workaholic. I know that we covered a lot this past hour, and I truly hope that you learned something new. Remember, building vocabulary takes time, and I hope that this lesson will be a great resource when it comes to learning C2 vocabulary. If you enjoyed the lesson and you actually did learn something new, you can let me know by hitting that like button. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. So long.